Kenyatta Jackson Jr. 6'6", 265 pounds, listed as for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He is a defensive lineman, an edge rusher listed as. And this is a player that I believe is going to be a steal in the 2026 NFL draft. He's got the long arms, he's got the power. And I'm going to just tell you some of the notes that I have on him watching that tape from last week's game in week 10. This is a guy that, we talk about Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. We talk about these guys, but we haven't talked about any true defensive linemen for Ohio State, right? What we should be talking about Kenyatta Jackson Jr. And here's why. Against Penn State, right? Again, that was a game that was close up into like halftime or whatever it may have been. Kenyatta Jackson, ended this game with a sack, 2 QB hits, 4 hurries and pressures, and 1 batted pass. So he was active and he was productive as a pass rusher. But some of the things I jotted down while watching him, he is very impressive as a run defender. I'm talking about low pad level, again, 6'6", good enough fluidity in the hips to drop his weight, drop his hips, keep his pad level low, strike with both hands, and play with power at the point of attack, lock out, peak, locate the football, shed that offensive lineman, aka that blocker, and get to the football. He has a closing burst to the ball into the quarterback, but also the great motor and hustle to the football. I love the fact he's a backside run defender, because there were times in that game where Penn State they tried to run at him and it didn't work. It didn't matter if he was at edge or at 4-eye. It did not matter. I think they tried to either trap him or reach block him. Didn't matter either. Like he met the puller, he met the offensive lineman with power, struck with he has nice voltage and juice in his hands to when you could see it kind of like shocks that blocker and that offensive lineman. Does a good job of that, man. He does a good job striking, making sure he does not allow them to latch in, and so they can drive their feet, move him off the ball. He anchors well. And not just one-on-one blocks either. Like, as for a guy that's less than 280 pounds, there were some reps in there. I remember a couple where they tried to double team him, and he anchored and split it, and he got to the football either way. So you're talking about running backs, especially in the NFL. This is why I really like his fit going into the league, because, okay, number one, if offensive coordinators feel like, hey, we can't run in that direction, let's run away from them. Yeah, some defenders are even worse to run away from because they know how to defeat their blocks backside quickly, and then they chase the ball down. So you're talking about going up against wide zone, the West Coast offense, that wide zone, outside zone type of running concept, and you got a running back pressing and reading and trying to find, all right, do I keep going outside? Do I bounce it? Do I bang it out? Do I bang it in between the tackles? What do I do here? And while he's processing, you got Kenyatta Jackson Jr. defeating that reach block or that seal block on the back end, defeat it quickly, and then he's keeping and holding that line and attacking your running back, right? Attacking the ball, closing burst to the ball, positional flexibility, playing the 4-eye, playing that 5 tech, maybe a little 6. He can do different things, and he can create those mismatches on the defensive line or in the front 7 at the line of scrimmage. You want a guy like that can play multiple positions and put offensive alignment in some very conflicting and compromising situations where you say, hey, either they're too strong or they're super strong, right? They're powerful. They're power maulers, right? But they're not athletic enough. So he's got enough quickness to beat them athletically. But let's say they can match him athletically, but they can't match him power-wise. Now he overpowers them, right? And he's got that ability. So as a pass rusher, he's got speed to power conversion. I'm starting to see some good use of hands to be able to throw a little double hand swipe there. Again, bull rush. Can I get the bull with the club on the outside hand and then clear him? Like, you want to see him, just because that was something I saw a recent interview, I think before this game, where he said he talked to Matt Patricia, their defensive coordinator at Ohio State, about letting him rush the passer more. So this is a guy that's hungry and understand. First of all, I love him asking that. And I'm going to tell you why. I love it from this aspect. He understands that there's a lot that he can gain from this. And what I mean, check what I mean by that. Understanding the moment, right? I think he's a senior, so he may not have any eligibility left. Teams already know you set a strong floor, okay? Great run defender. Upside is there as a pass rusher. Well, if I can show the flashes, I can secure myself. And then at the end of the day, we're still looking to figure out who are the true first round picks or who those day two guys or those under the radar guys, those guys we didn't know about that could climb the ranks into the first round. Again, 6'6", 270, 265. I think Kenyatta Jackson could end up hearing Tyleik Williams. And listen, if you're everydayer and a true everydayer, you know that I've talked about Tyleik Williams for years since taking over this podcast with my guy Keith. And I said that Tyleik would have been the first round pick when he was drafted. Now, when he was drafted, like that was 2 years prior, right? He went back to school, things like that. He wasn't as impressive to me in 2024 to warrant a back into the first round pick, but nonetheless, still love the kid, still love what he did on tape. I'm sorry, and what he does on tape. So, but we saw him sneak into the first round, right? We've seen Lucas Van Ness go high, and Lucas Van Ness played predominantly 4-eye when he was at Iowa. He wasn't even a true edge rusher, and he's developing. He's finding his way as a pass rusher now. I look at Kenyatta Jackson, and I do believe that there's some reps where you can stand him up in the 2-point stance and let him rush. Man, you think about, going to a big defensive line set, right? And you think about like what the Carolina Panthers have done with Bobby Brown and Derek Brown and A'Shawn Robinson. You get three, like if you go a 4-man front and you got those 3 big hog mollies, those 3 big defensive tackles on the line of scrimmage, and then you go to a 6'6", 265 Kenyatta Jackson standing up on the strong side against the tight end. I'm taking Kenyatta Jackson setting the edge against that tight end 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10. Unless it's George Kittle, then you might have a little bit of problem, right? You might have a little bit of problem because it's George Kittle. Outside of that, it's not many tight ends that are true block. Oh, sorry. My guy, was it Jackson Hawes for the Buffalo Bills? Yeah, absolute dog, right? Absolute hoss, right? But nonetheless, man, I just think you're gonna pick Kenyatta Jackson to have success against tight ends in the run game if he's on the strong side. So I think you can get away with some of the stuff of him standing up on the edge and on the perimeter. But this young man can get after the quarterback as well. He's showcasing that now, and he's still developing that part of his game. And like I said, 5 sacks, and he can rush from multiple spots. That variety and multiplicity that he brings from a rush standpoint, from an alignment standpoint, like, yeah, you can't overvalue that. Like you can't undervalue that. You have to truly value that, because in the NFL, it's all about the mismatch. It's all about who can create the mismatch, who can exploit the mismatch. And he can give you those type of things. You talk about having him as a strong side defensive end and then reducing them down because you want to bring that DPR off the bench. Let's say a team drafted him and R. Mason Thomas, the edge rusher out of Oklahoma. They say, R. Mason, we want to slow play this thing like Nick Benito, baby. We won't want you playing full snaps all the time. We're gonna bring you in. You're our pitch hitter, whatever it's called in baseball. Like you want to bring him in as your DPR. On third downs, fresh legs, fast, explosive, dynamic, all of that. Well, then you reduce Kenyatta down to like 4-eye. You put R. Mason, or maybe 5, and then you put R. Mason Thomas as like the wide 9. And you're like, man, good luck blocking that side of the defensive line. Good luck blocking that side of the defensive line. I just think this guy's going to be a steal, and I think NFL teams are going to love him once it gets to the pre-draft process. Heard good things about his leadership. This is a young man that's talented. He's a talented young man. He gets after it. And again, we talk about Arvell Reese, we talk about Caleb Downs, we talk about Sonny Styles. It's time that we talk about Kenyatta Jackson Jr., the do-it-all, versatile defensive lineman, edge rusher from Ohio State. But coming up next,